After a rough go-round in Game 1, Lyra Dawnbringer strikes back. Can Lyra Dawnbringer defeat Ludevic, Kraum, Arcanis the Omnipotent, and the Shattergang brothers? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Playing Lyra Dawnbringer. She's back with a vengeance. Opening hand, one lander. We're going to mulligan that. Has all the artifacts we want, but no lands. Ooh, into no lands again? There's 38 lands in this deck. That should not be a thing. Oh, good. We're against two blue opponents and a Shattergang. Oh, man, this is going to be a rough game. Mulligan down to 6, and that's a little bit better. We've got 2 lands and Expedition Map to find a 3rd land. We could potentially do something interesting with the Enlightened Tutor, so we'll keep that. Question is, what will our best source of card value be? I guess through the early and mid games. There's a Thran Dynamo on top. Yeah, let's keep that on top. That's too powerful of a card to cycle away, I think. That'll get us into casting our Angels very quickly. As soon as we hit 4 mana, that'll put us to 7 mana, assuming we don't make the next land drop. That being the case, I don't know exactly what to tutor for yet, so we'll go with the Expedition Map right here. Now, the one thing, too, there is a Ludevic Necro-Alchemist in play. Potentially, we could draw a few extra cards off that ability if everything goes well for us. Ponder for the blue-red opponent. So as I mentioned, we're playing Lyra Dawnbringer, which is 3 white for a 5/5. Flying, first strike, lifelink. Other angels you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink. I talked about Lyra a little bit on the channel, and it's pretty exciting as a card. After my first go-round where I got crushed pretty hard playing Lyra as a commander, I'm starting to think that maybe she's better in the 99 of a multicolor angel deck versus just being a mono-white commander. We'll see. Now, the last time I played the deck, we ran into a particularly tough matchup where I forget the exact number, but we got like 14 permanents destroyed by multiple Terastodons, which was kind of a problem. There's not a ton we can do about that. Most decks would struggle receiving that amount of hate. I'm hoping this time out goes a little bit better. The last time we played her, I got banged up so bad that I've actually been pretty gun-shy to come back around to this commander, so hoping for better luck today. And how about that? We catch a land off the top. Lands are good. With that land, cracking the Expedition Map, we can get our Emeria the Sky Ruin, and that'll give us 4 lands to get us into that Thran Dynamo, so that sounds pretty good. Let's get Emeria. Now, one thing I briefly thought about doing right there, too, is grabbing a fetch land and then using Enlightened Tutor for Crucible of Worlds. That ensures that we can keep making our land drops as long as our graveyard doesn't get exiled and as long as Crucible of Worlds sticks around. And just making all your land drops throughout a game can be really powerful, especially with a deck like this where most of our creatures are pretty expensive. So as it gets later in the game and you get to a point where you have 13 or 14 lands, that's when you can start playing 2 really big things in a turn. That is the type of thing that can allow you to win the game, just being able to do more than your opponent. Anyway, the blue-red opponent lays down a Mana Crypt and then follows that up with a Darksteel Ingot, so they are ahead on mana by a lot. I did make a few substitutions to this deck before running it out here again. I've switched all the lands over to Snow-Covered for the Extra Planar Lens interaction. For those that aren't aware, if we use Extra Planar Lens on a normal Plains, then any of our opponents would also get the mana doubling ability. However, if we use a Snow-Covered Plains, because most opponents aren't going to be running Snow-Covered Plains, they won't get that benefit. So, pretty good news there. Interesting debate right here. We could go Emeria and then Thran Dynamo next turn, or we could go Cavern of Souls, Urza's Incubator, and actually cast our commander next turn. I think I like that, actually. So let's go Cavern of Souls. Naming Angel. Cavern's probably going to be very relevant in this matchup because we have 2 blue opponents. And I have to imagine that Arcanis the Omnipotent is running some number of counterspells. So choose Angel with the Cavern of... or with the Urza's Incubator, excuse me. So choose Angel with the Urza's Incubator. Desperate Ravings for the blue-red opponent. Let's take a look at what our opponents are actually playing. Our first opponent is 2 blue-red partners. We have Ludevic Necro-Alchemist, which is 1 blue-red. It's a 1/4. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player may draw a card if a player other than you lost life this turn. It partners with Kraum Ludevic's Opus, is 3 blue-red for a 4/4 flying haste. Whenever opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. I'm guessing it's some sort of like blue-red control-ish kind of deck. Not entirely sure what they're going to be up to. The plan is probably going to be get Kraum in play and then protect it with counterspells and use removal on anything that's getting in their way and hold up counterspell mana. I'm guessing is their game plan. Oh, wow. So while I was going through all that, opponent plays a Days Undoing. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. If it's your turn, end the turn. So we get a fresh hand of 7 to look at. We do get more angels out of the deal, which is good. But I did like the tutoring that we had available to us with the last hand. We draw a Temple of the False God off the top. Don't have enough lands for that to matter just yet. But I think right here let's slam the plains. Do we go for Avacyn or do we go for Lyra? I think we go Avacyn first. Interestingly, Rune of the Fading Light was in our original hand and has come back to us. That's fun. Anyway, so we'll go Avacyn first, and that way we can slam Lyra next turn, and Avacyn will get the lifelink and the +1/+1, and we'll have 2 angels in play. Plus, Avacyn has Vigilance, which is nice, so we can attack. And the Vigilance on Avacyn is really interesting. Like, she comes down at a point in the game where there are a few small things on board, and just being able to deter those early attacks, because Avacyn's going to be bigger than most of the things that our opponents have for at least a couple turns. It's really subtle, but I think it's interesting. It may make the difference of us staying at 40 versus being at 32 because we took some early attacks from some of the smaller creatures in play, which can matter in the game. As the game wears on, as your life total gets lower and lower, you get closer to Alpha Strike range for creature decks, or, burn range for black decks and red decks. Also, green decks. Once you start getting below 20, green decks can usually find a way with Crater Hoof or Overrun type of effects to pound out 20 damage in a turn. So there is something to say for keeping your life total high in a game. It does take a lot of things to be able to do 40 damage to someone in a turn. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but it takes many cards for it to work. The number of cards needed to do 20 damage to someone is significantly less than the number of cards needed to do 40 damage to someone. Anyway, opponent lays down the Ludevic Necro Alchemist, so we can actually attack someone else and start getting some card draw going, which I'm pretty excited about. And the Arcanis has a Tide Force Elemental down. It can pay blue to tap or untap another target creature at landfall. When land enters the battlefield, you may untap Tide Force Elemental. That could actually be really annoying. Like, they could potentially tap down our Avacyn if they wanted. Eidolon of Blossoms coming into play. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So possibly an Enchantress deck out of the Shattergang brothers. Ooh, nice. Because of the Bitter Blossom, I think we all get to draw. Oh, nope. Oh, no. So because of the Bitter Blossom, the Arcanis is going to get to draw extra cards every turn. That seems not great. There's an Avacyn Angel of Hope. Sweet card. Can we cast that? Yeah, we can cast Avacyn. There's 3 blue open right there, so a little risky. Let's see what the blue opponent's looking to do here. We'll swing into the blue opponent. They go down to 35, so no response. Temple of the False God. Let's just try to slam this Avacyn out here. Takes board wipes off the table, although Shattergang Brothers doesn't really care about Avacyn all that much, which is not the best. Oh, I forgot we have Cavern of Souls, so the blue player can't counter us. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We get to draw a card with Ludevic, so down for that. There's an Austere Command. Austere Command will be very, very useful against Shattergang Brothers. So one of the other changes I made to this deck is I also added in Hour of Revelation, because that is a very, very good card. And even though it may hit some of our stuff, I find that sometimes you just really need that Destroy Everything ability. You can solve so many problems. Basically, you can stop all of your opponent's early game setup with a card like that, which is something that I really like. Repercussion coming down for the blue-red opponent. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. Nice. Stitch in Time, flip a coin. If you win the flip, take an extra turn. Opponent taking an extra turn? They lost the flip. No turn for them. Nice. Landfall trigger for the Tide Force Elemental. Not going to do anything with it, though. Thought Vessel for the Arcanis. Yeah, that seems good in an Arcanis deck. I mean, that's good in most decks, but Arcanis is a deck that can draw a lot of cards, so yeah. Oh, that's good. The Arcanis opponent taps out all but 1 land for their Myriad Landscape, which is really good. That means we should be able to get this Austere Command through nice and easy on our turn. Oh, wait a second. Players can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. That seems really important against the Shattergang brothers. They can still sacrifice artifacts and enchantments, but they won't be able to sack creatures against us, and that seems like a pretty big deal. So we're going to want to get this Angel of Jubilation out. Shattergang brothers coming into play. Does take 3 to activate. They only have 2 mana open currently. Hopefully they don't drop a land on us or something like that. So we draw a Thought Vessel. Thought Vessel is useful. Let's play a Plains. We're going to run this Austere Command out there. So we're going to go Enchantments, because I really want to get rid of that Bitter Blossom, since that can just block us for days. And we're going to go all small creatures, since there's a lot of tokens out there. It'll get rid of the Tide Force. It'll get rid of the Ludevic. Actually, if we sequence this properly, we can go Thought Vessel first, then go for the Austere Command. So enchantments and creatures with 3 or less. So that gets wow, that gets rid of a ton of stuff on board. Unfortunately, we don't have any mana left to get our Angel of Jubilation down. But I think we go after Shattergang right here. If you guys haven't faced Shattergang, because it's not a really common commander to face, it can be really difficult to face. So once they get going, on their commander, they have creature removal, artifact removal, and enchantment removal that doesn't target, which is really, really ridiculous. Like, once they get going, they can just control the board with all those abilities. There's an Atali coming down. Man, I wish we still had some removal. Atali seems good. Shattergang's down. Wow, Shattergang's down to 23 already. Now, unfortunately, they can probably go creature, sack a creature, and then we're going to have to sacrifice, obviously, our small Avacyn first. Yeah, we have both Avacyn's out. Just noticed. Big Avacyn, small Avacyn. Don't have the red-white Avacyn, unfortunately, in this one. Apheto Alchemist coming into play has the ability to untap target artifact or creature. I like this one better because it can't tap our stuff down, though I'm sure it's still very good with Arcanis. There's a Shieldred Whispering one coming down. Eee. Well, we're going to have to sacrifice small Avacyn. It's unfortunate, but we should be able to protect our big Avacyn. So, sacrifice small Avacyn. Ooh, we draw a Steel Shaper's Gift. So we have Lightning Greaves, Mask of Memory, Sword of the Animist. What do we need right here? Angel of Finality will be decent against the graveyard of the Shattergang brothers' opponent. We will need the plains, so we need all the white sources we can get. I mean, yeah, let's start with Angel of Finality. We know we're going to need that. Exile Shattergang's graveyard. Graveyard exile. Nice. Next, let's get down Angel of Jubilation. And then we have a total of... Do we have enough to get this Bruna down? I think we're going to be one short. Yep, bummer. We're one short on the Bruna. Which means that we can't do something with the Steel Shaper's Gift. And Mask of Memory is probably going to be the thing that we want, because we want to draw some more cards. So, yeah, Steel Shaper's Gift for Mask of Memory. Although I also really like Lightning Greaves, because if something happens, we can go Bruna, get Big Avacyn back, and then swing with both very quickly. And that is also a nice thing to do. So play the Mask of Memory, equip the Mask of Memory onto the Avacyn, and send this into the Shattergang brothers' opponent. 9 more coming into the Shattergang brothers. We get a Mask of Memory trigger. They go down to 13. We're going to discard our Chroma. We can get it back with Bruna the Fading Light. And we have an Hour of Revelation in our hand now, which is going to be really good if our opponents tap out to play a bunch of permanents. Ooh, so the Shieldred forces the Atali to get sacked. Nice. So having Shieldred around, not the worst thing. Now I'm torn between whether we need to keep Shattergang around for a little while to keep the blue players in check, because the blue players are both still in the 30s, so we have a long road of damage to go on them. Ooh, that's a Teferi's Puzzle Box. Well, that's gonna mess up our plans for how we had set up our turn. I was liking having that Hour of Arcanis just scoops it up. Can't deal with the Puzzle Box. Wonder if they're losing their combo, right? Wow. Nice. That does leave some room for us to just win this game now. Because the problem was going to be that if we had to kill both Arcanis and the blue-red opponent, it's going to take us a little while to punch out that much damage. So they'll have many turns to be able to react to what we're doing. Now it would be much shorter to close out the game, since that's 30-something damage that we don't have to worry about dealing right now. Dead Man's Chest. Enchant creature an opponent controls. When enchanted creature dies, exile cards equal to its power from the top of its owner. You may cast non-land cards from among them as long as they remain exiled. You may spend mana as though were any color. Interesting. So we're definitely going to sack the Angel of Finality to the Shieldred. They will get 3 cards to exile, if I'm understanding that right, equal to its power, and they'll be able to cast non-land permanents. Being that Avacyn's already in play and a Chroma's in our graveyard, those are the biggest things in the deck. We've used Austere Command, Hour of Revelation. Hour of Revelation is going to go to the bottom of our library, so I think it should be all right. Sacrifice Angel of Finality. Gets the Dead Man's Chest trigger. And actually, we can just swing in for lethal on the Shattergang brothers' opponent. So, everything gets wheeled into the puzzle box. There's some Lightning Greaves and, ooh, a Homeward Path. Homeward Path Eerie Interlude is also very, very good. This is a good turn for Lightning Greaves and Lyra Dawnbringer. So, get the boots on Lyra Dawnbringer. I'm not really expecting any removal or anything. I think we swing like this. We'll send the Lyra at the blue-red player, and the other 2 at the Shattergang brothers' opponent. Wow, Shattergang goes down. Nice. So they had nothing left in hand. Awesome. We get another Mask of Memory trigger. Ooh, a Maria Shepherd and Planar Bridge? I guess we discard the Planar Bridge and try to get a Maria Shepherd into play, but I also really want to leave up Eerie Interlude. So the thing that would get us right now is a Cyclonic Rift. That is the scariest thing that our opponent can play. and Eerie Interlude would protect us from that, so it's going to be really important to hold that up. We're going to wait on the Emeria Shepherd because we want to hold up mana for the Eerie Interlude. Past the turn, we're up to 60 life, by the way, so, you know, attacking with a few angels and having Lyra Dawnbringer out makes your life total really high. Mana Crypt trigger for the blue-red opponent. And they wheel into the puzzle box. Oh, actually, it's going to be, well, Emeria Shepherd's going to get wheeled away unless something unforeseen happens, which is not the best. We're also going to lose the Eerie Interlude. Opponent just scoops it. Wow, they have nothing. Wow, so how about a nice clean win for Lyra Dawnbringer right there? Shattergang was the only one that put up any amount of resistance, and we were able to stop them through a few key plays with Angel of Finality and Angel of Jubilation. Wow, that game was super quick. So, and one thing to note, it is turn 8 in this game. We had a reasonably fast start with the Urza's Incubator, which helps us start getting creatures down by turn 4, I think it was. From there, no one had any real removal or board wipes. Also, we got our Avacyn down, so you need very specific types of board wipes at that point. And we ended up finishing the game on turn 8. Granted, one opponent did scoop, so probably add 2 to 3 turns to finish off a third opponent. So the pacing of our deck was actually pretty solid. While everyone else was trying to mess around with combos and get set up to do other things, we were just slamming angels and attacking with them, and in this case it was enough. So this is a much better showing than Lyra Dawnbringer had last time out. And I like some of the changes that I made to the deck. We had the Eerie Interlude in our hand ready to go. We had the Hour of Revelation ready to go to blow some stuff up. Granted, the Teferi's Puzzle Box is going to make things a little bit awkward, but we seemed to catch things right when we needed them. We did get a little bit of extra card draw help from the Ludevic opponent, which was nice. But all in all, the deck played pretty well. This game, I think, was a very good representation of what this deck is going to do. Now, certain deck styles are going to be able to disrupt what our deck is doing. Probably one of the worst cards you could see is Treachery, and then you just have to hope that you find your homeward path. Treachery and Desertion are just going to be backbreakers for a deck like this. So either just hope you don't run into them or make sure you find your homeward path if you know that your opponents have them. So yeah, in certain matchups I think this deck can be pretty strong, but it won't be in all matchups. It's mono white, so it is going to have a fair amount of weaknesses, namely blue. This deck just doesn't match up well against what blue decks are trying to do. I suspect that your best matchup is going to be red and green as a color, since they generally care about damage and attacking. You have the ability to gain a lot of life back. Mono black is an interesting one. Things like Angel of Jubilation can shut down certain mono blacks, or at least parts of their deck, which can be really helpful. Avacyn is helpful against certain board wipes, but not all of them. Things like a really big Mutilate or a big Black Sun Zenith, Avacyn's not going to help you with. But your things like Damnation and Life's Finale, Avacyn's going to make them do literal nothing against you. So with mono black, I could see it going both ways. It kind of depends on what they draw, what their game plan is, versus what cards you draw. If you get the ones that kind of hose the black player, and making sure that they don't catch the ones that hose you. Anyway, pretty happy with how this game turned out. It's a nice tidy victory, so Lyra Dawnbringer striking back with a vengeance. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.